Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
The missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Once I told a lie, and I told my family, I had to keep lying.
What's your, is it deemed?
We haven't cleared anybody.
Hey everyone, thank you for being here and joining me. I want to start off just by thanking the members. I see their banners are coming up. So Sherry, thank you so much for your 19 months of support. I really appreciate that, especially getting out of the swing of things and back into the swing of things on the channel. So I appreciate you being here. Johnny, thanks for serving up some tea in the chat. And then I also see Jay, and I've sent the link out to a few friends. So Jay's got it. Also, Alex Erickson is backstage waiting to just join our little conversation. We're just hanging out tonight. Like, I'm not even turning the camera on. I'm just hanging out with you guys with like sweatpants, hair tied, chilling with no makeup on. So if you understand those lyrics, you might be a millennial. Thank you, Shay. Appreciate that. But yeah, we're going to get right into it. So I'll bring up my friend, Adrian, 36 months. Wow. Yeah, I know. Nearly 2 years for Jay as well. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. And anyone who just hits a like button and just shows up for our hangouts, you can rely on us doing this Watts chat probably every Sunday. It's been something that people have asked me to do. So we're just going to keep doing it, and we'll be discussing other cases too. So, join us on other nights too. Most of my live streams will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just, 2 of those days. It really depends. I also linked in chat my second channel. It's just like a hangout spot outside of True Crime. I'd love if you guys subscribed over there too. It is a doll community channel, but we'll do some restorations and just probably do some live streams over there once I'm able to stream. And yeah, like I said, just a hangout spot to decompress from true crime. So I've linked that in the chat. And we're going to just go through those media clips that we've been kind of slowly working our way through. Let me pull that up on the screen before I pull my friends up. And then I want to just start off with the one question that I kind of titled this as, which is, why was it an urgency for Nicole Kessinger, the mistress in this case, to mention in her interview that she would have to sell her vehicle? The full context to that statement had to do with stuff happening at her job and thinking that she might lose her job and asking Agent Kobach his advice, like how to approach things at her job and what should she say. And then she mumbled well, I guess I'll have to sell my car or my truck. I forgot which exactly she said, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So that is just what I want to kind of start the conversation off with. And then I will pull up my friends now. Maybe they can join the chat and that question. Hi guys, thanks for being here.
Hey, that's when you're the prettiest, chilling with no makeup on. You can put them on.
I knew you'd understand.
I don't, sadly.
Drake.
It's just a little bit of Drake lyrics.
Yeah.
Back before he was getting blown up by, what was his name?
Jason Derulo.
He's been blown up actually by a lot of people, I guess. That guy who did this Super Bowl last year.
Kendrick Lamar, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we're just hanging out.
Hey.
Wasn't going to go on camera tonight, so figured I'd use those little lyrics. But So we're just going through these media clips, and just kind of in my Facebook group, I've just posed like the questions, what people want to discuss during these live streams and what questions they had. So my main question for tonight, which there'll be never ending questions, but why it just seemed odd to me, her emphasis of like needing to sell her vehicle. It might not be odd when you think about, well, she was thinking her job was on the line and, maybe she'd have to get rid of some things, but it just always seemed to me like daddy would be there to help her. Like it was just a big jump for all of a sudden she had to sell her car.
Right. Was she being dramatic, or was she thinking about, I don't know, someone like old neighbor Betty seeing her vehicle, or, something like
Yeah.
that?
Right. I know it can go so many different directions. Jay, what do you think?
Well, I agree with Alex. Like it could be like a situation like the neighbor, because like what you said, like her dad, if it was a money thing, like I did before the live, think about maybe, she was gonna leave and split because it would be too hot, too much attention to stay around there, and just to sell the car, to sell all the things she didn't need to take with her, and to just start anew. Like what you said, like she didn't need to do that. You know what I mean? Like I lean more towards it was to, cover her own tracks.
Yeah, like in case she had to get rid of her car for whatever reason, would have on record ahead of time, like, well, yeah, remember when we were talking about me losing my job and I thought like I'd have to sell my vehicle, like maybe to downplay it if she ever took the steps to sell it. Now, people have said she sold it. I have never seen like anything concrete to say that she did, but I assume that she probably did, considering it was in the discovery of like what it looked like. Maybe that was another reason too. She was thinking she had to get rid of that car because everything in that secret calculator app was handed over and they were going to discover. Chris allegedly never even deleted it. So her car, for whatever reason, is remember those pictures of like in like the mountainous region, it's like sitting there by itself. Like, why did they just take pictures of her vehicle? Just weird.
Bizarre.
Good, Jay.
Sorry, I was just going to say just bizarre.
It is.
Let's say just a one-word sentence.
It is bizarre, but I don't know if I remember what picture you're talking of, in like the wilderness or what
Yeah, it was like a mountainous terrain, and then there was like selfies of them hiking in that same area, with like the same background. Hold on, I'll see if I can find it. And she's wearing a shirt from that because they went to some Shelby Mustang museum.
Yes, I remember the hiking photos, like of them. Like, I think she has a ponytail in, and they're like it's close up on their face.
And like James said, like she bragged. That was another thing I was kind of adding to my whole, like, it just seems such a drastic move to be like, gotta get rid of my car. Considering she talked about being like frugal and like the Watts house is all, expensive stuff and it's like money, quote unquote. That's literally what she said. And just talking about, how she gets stuff at thrift stores and she's, she doesn't always buy it. She didn't need flowers and stuff from Chris, and because she's not like that, like just little things like that. And just having like, good credit. She makes sure that she's got good credit. And it's like, so what? Your father seemed like he would have handled the car payment if needed. And if you got fired, which is what that whole context was sort of about, then you would get unemployment, at least for a little bit.
Is it possible she's just like a drama queen and never meant it at all? You know what I mean? And she's just like one of those kind of girls who's so dramatic about everything, goes to the.
Oh, for sure possible.
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
when we look at her other behaviors at other times, I could see it's like she's like Amber Heard in a way.
100%. No,
Yeah.
100%. No, I've had this conversation with other people before about her being so much like Amber Heard. It's like her fake. I think I had this with you, Amber, last time I was on here, where I said like the way she was in the interrogations, like all that baby voice, like that bad acting, like that really bad acting. Anything to get the investigators to sympathise and like her
Yeah.
is very much in that vein. And that is a thought I had. Like, she sells the car, like I said earlier, like she sells the car, she gets rid of everything she doesn't need, and then starts anew. You know what I mean? Because it's dramatic. She needs to get away from it all. She's that big of a narcissist that I know that's an overused term, but I really think she is. Both of
Yeah.
them are big ones.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. Like, I'm having a big change. Everything must change. Everything around me must change. You know what I mean?
Right.
My environment is reflective upon how I feel. That's very much in keeping with a narcissistic mindset. Like I think, I'm same with Amber Heard. She disappeared to Spain. You know what I mean? So exactly, it's parallel. It's so parallel.
It is strange, like to see the similar personalities in such different situations and different circles, but
It's a pathology. I think it's a personality type.
Yeah, totally.
Personality disorder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's been something that case has kind of touched on from the beginning, talking about her bipolar videos, allegedly. Like, none of us ever saw them. Some people who follow this, I swear Crazy Crime Chick has said that she saw them and then they disappeared. Because she scrubbed everything. But apparently it was like a selfie type talk video from NK, like before the case and everything, just talking about her struggles with bipolar disorder.
Oh, wow.
It was like out there on the internet, and then she scrubbed everything, like while we were all kind of looking into things. And then she realized, like, wait, people are looking into everything about me. They have a picture of my address that was linked to my LLC that has that small gray truck on it, Google images. But Margie, this is, of course, Alex Erickson, and then Jay is just a moderator, somebody I met through the community, actually. So we're just friends through true crime, because she asked if I could introduce the panel. Hi, legal-minded friends with Karen. Good to see you. And everyone else who joined, I saw Pointer Lovers here. Patricia brings up a good point, or she wanted to test to see if they were going to want to take her vehicle in for testing. And she kind of did say certain things at times that seemed like she was fishing for information. You know what I mean? And then if for some reason she said out loud to Kopak, like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to sell my vehicle. If he said, well, I wouldn't go ahead and do that just yet. We might need it. Maybe she was waiting to see if he was going to say something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's possible. Huh. I didn't think about that.
Because the problem with her is she's very manipulative and very cunning. So you just don't know, I guess, what statements were made out of like nefarious reasons.
Right.
Her needing to sell her vehicle and then her buying sneakers the week of the murders. Like, do you guys think that Venmo transaction that was uncovered is strange?
Very.
Literally the week of the murders.
Very, and there's going to be no kind of accountability. They didn't look into where these shoes are now. You know what I mean? Like, they never got that far because she was never officially a suspect. So why would they have gone that far? So it does make it, it could be purely coincidental, but I don't, it's too much of a coincidence.
It's just weird. With everything going on that week, like, just think about, like, her life was like turned upside down. Like, FBI is interviewing her. This guy that she was, sleeping with, all of a sudden is the prime suspect in this horrific like case. And at first the whole week started with his wife is missing and the kids are missing. And then everything escalates and she's leaving work early because she's sick, which is in the police notes. She's calling into work also because obviously she's just not going to go with everything going on. And then on Venmo, we see that she gets this like money from her mother and it's for shoes. it's just kind of random, you know, because you also have to consider she went into the police station also with her father. There were just talks about, you know, her maybe getting fired, like all this, like what were the shoes? Why was this such a necessity and like urgency to get that week?
I think personally, I think that it was a chance that that money could have been used to run away if need be, you know, and as a legitimate way to give her the money if that actually was needed. You know, I really think that that's a possibility. But obviously, it could be purely she asked for money from them to do something like shopping, which is you get an endorphin boost from it. You get a chemical high from getting things that you want. So in a time that's stressful, it could be completely normal, you know, that she did that to kind of try and, you know, forget about the situation she's in. But it seems a bit off, you know, the you know, like we're talking quite a large
It
amount of
really
money.
is like one of those things. It's like, am I looking too much into this? I don't know. It definitely could be. What do you think, Alex?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. For me, I think I need to know more to really have a decision, like an opinion one way or the other about the shoes. How much money was it?
I don't think it wasn't enough to run away. I think it was $50. Let me double check.
Yeah, that's not maybe to cut down, but you know, I always was under the assumption that it was more because, you know, it was mentioned, you know what I mean? Like I always thought that like it would have been more because of her background, you know what I mean? But the fact it was only 50, like there could be another kind of reason for it. Like she might have had to replace shoes that she got rid of, and like she might have been worried that people would ask, well, what happened to them? You know, she might have used them in something that she, you know, didn't want them to be traced to have been used in a certain situation with. So many possibilities. And like you said, it could be a complete overthink and simply she just bought shoes.
The unfortunate thing is there's so many things like this because they didn't like fully investigate. They didn't finish, you know what I mean? And I don't know.
And you know, with the Koberger case ending in a plea deal, and even Stephen Stearns, like there was more investigation done in both those
Way
cases.
more.
We know it 100%. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's cases where people have been convicted guilty, you know, and you know it's been the whole thing, and there's still many questions that you just don't get answered because really a lot of things, not everything, but some things, it's whether you were there or not, would you really know? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look. You know, there's so many pictures, but I'm almost thinking that it didn't show the amount, like it, because you know how you can do that also on Venmo. Like it'll say the reason that you sent the money, but like it doesn't necessarily show publicly like how much it was. I might have.
I'm not, I don't even know that much about Venmo, but I do remember when hers was found, like, and like
And
some
then it was
different
quickly put
screenshots.
as private.
Yep. Yep.
It's like if it's nothing, then what is the deal? Just because people were prying.
If it was completely innocent, like there would be no reason for them to be like that. You know what I mean? So it just creates more suspicion. Everything they do, everything that she's done since has raised more eyebrows than it's.
Yeah. Even like her searches about Amber Fry, you know,
Mhm.
think about like she didn't hide. She was out there writing a book. So, did she have plans on not hiding at first? What made her decide to like hide and to the extent that you're
Mhm.
deleting everything off the internet, like everything?
I
I
know.
personally think. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Ali.
No, you're good.
No, but like I personally think that like I agree. Like at first she was trying to figure out the whole grift thing. Like how can I sell my story? How can I profit off this? But then I think she didn't realize about the whole community of people that were looking into this case, online sleuths and things like that, that would make her, you know, life not easy. You know what I mean? And would, you know, scrutinize her and ask reasonable questions of her, and it just would be something I think that she asked herself, am I strong enough to hold up to all this? And I think she thought no. So I think that's why.
Right.
Hey, Teresa, good to see you. Yeah, I just feel like because remember, in addition to Amber Fry's book deal, she looked up Amber Fry's net worth.
Yep.
Like it was like her focus in a lot of ways throughout this case has been like money oriented and money based. And it's like even the little things like that, it's like her trying to spin this as an opportunity to make money is just those were her first intentions, because those searches happened like right away.
It's always about how she can benefit from any situation, you know what I mean? There's no kind of like ever any kind of regard in anything she does for anybody else, you know. And from what I've seen, you know, it's pathological, you know, like there's the proofs there, you know. It's all about her and her needs and how she can further herself in every situation. It's really disturbing to see it on show.
Yeah, and she herself says in her own words that looking back at it, I guess I should have waited until he was divorced. And it's like she also talks about admittedly like pursuing him. And he also says that, you know what I mean? Like those stories coincided between the two, that NK pursued him and she says she wished she would have waited. And he pretty much was like blindsided by a girl even paying him attention like that, and pretty much said that she pursued him and that he'd never experienced that before, etc. It's bizarre.
Well, we can't. I wish that we could, because it would be so interesting. I don't think we can recreate it because it's been so long. But if we would have back then, like searched Amber Fry and net worth like immediately when this first happened, before all the news came out about it and stuff, I would be curious to know what the results were. Like, did that play into her decision making of hiding versus not?
Yeah, I know. Maybe she
was
like, no, not worth it.
1 million, not enough.
But at this moment, this HLN episode was August 22nd, 2018. So it's only been, 10 days ish. My math isn't the best, guys. But, they don't even know cause of death at this moment. They don't know manner of death. They don't know that there's a mistress involved. What they do know is they've shared clips of Shanann thus far, not in the best light. And when you pull out clips and you can do it with anyone, you know what I mean? There could be clips of us even in our live streams that somebody could point out and put up there and be like, wow, did you hear what she said here? Like, she seems kind of like pushy. She seems bossy. Those were the stuff that the media was putting out at the time, like the first week of this case. Exactly. And so I think the masses were watching this unfold. They don't know how Shanann was killed. They don't know, that she was strangled and all that. Like, even the kids, like, they know that they were found in the oil wells and that Chris confessed to killing them all, which that wasn't the confession at the time, as you guys know. And the affidavit was being withheld. It's true criminality. I am. Roxanne will tell you. Hi, Roxanne. But they don't even have the affidavit at this point. Like, they haven't released that to the public, because that in there describes Chris's first confession, which was that he did it to Shanann because what she did to the girls. You know what I mean?
Right. So
right now, all these media, Ashley Banfield is reporting off of bossy videos of Shanann, not knowing how she died, and that Chris, quote unquote, confessed to it all. So that's what we know in the first week. Isn't that weird?
It is weird. It's so interesting.
And every time that she talks about how Chris confessed to it all, she'll say, sources from inside the investigate, just like she, they do in all the other cases as well. So there was, which has been proven like through motions and just media reports, I think probably in November, maybe October, that they were doing investigations into media leaks. So law enforcement leaking stuff to the media. The defense team was like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, we're trying to give this guy a fair trial and all this stuff, and you guys are leaking information from the investigation to the media. Mind you, it's not even factual. And you won't release the fact that he had a mistress. When they did release the affidavit, that whole part was redacted. Like it was all at the bottom, and you couldn't even find context to be like, oh, wow, yeah, there's another girl, it seems.
That whole element of the cops allegedly leaking stuff to the media, I really think that it makes me suspicious. Let's just say that. Let's just say I really think that was a concerted effort, that was deliberate, in an effort to make sure that if there was a trial, it could be, damaged. The integrity of it could be damaged so that things can't come out. And I really, but the question is, the big question is why? Why were they doing this? Why were they treating NK with kid gloves? Why were they leaking things to the media? Why were they putting out this narrative about Shanann, that she's this, all this narrative that she's this, difficult wife, this nagging wife, this awful wife that doesn't put out, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just to demonize her when when she's been murdered, like, why? It's so bizarre. All of this is so bizarre. Like, you really think about it all, like, put all the pieces together.
Forgot to add also, sorry to cut you off.
Not at all.
The other element too that we're pushing out in the first week is their financial issues, and then ending the segments with like, is that motive? And there's no mention of a mistress. It's just weird because of all the other cases we follow. Like, we follow and we're like, oh, wow, there was another person, or there was, she was having an affair, he was having an affair. But here it's just been kind of pushed out strategically. And I do wonder if like they leaked that stuff as a means to like, oh, well, first off, the confession was just false. Shanann didn't kill the kids. So they know that their evidence and what he stated like doesn't match. Like, they weren't going to find, which the judge even said she wouldn't allow the defense to do it. They weren't even going to find Shanann's DNA on the kids' necks, like Chris alleged. Like, well, it's not going to be my DNA. And it's like, I wonder if the leaking had multiple reasons, and one of it was just to use as kind of leverage to be like, just end this in a plea deal. Like that way, because his defense lawyers already were petitioning the court to say, like, this is infringing on his constitutional rights to a fair trial. What's going on? And the judge was like, well, we'll open an investigation. And then it ends in a plea deal. So it's like, Chris's lawyers could have used that as well as a means to be like, listen, just sign this plea deal. You're already not going to get a fair trial. It's just all too convenient, in my opinion.
Seems very planned out, like completely, that they knew exactly the outcome, the DA, what they wanted, you know what I mean, and what the investigators wanted. And that was no kind of way to objectively investigate something, as we all know. You've got to go into it with a completely open mind, and regardless of what the outcome is, you accept and you follow the evidence. That this wasn't done here, and it's still so many questions, but the main question is, why wasn't it?
When did it come out that he had the mistress? I don't remember. And yeah, I don't remember when that came out.
Honestly, I'm not even, that's why I'm kind of like happy to go through these again, because we're just looking at these reports and we're like, oh, wow. Because they've mentioned like nothing about her. And then she said something about other person, and we don't know of anyone else. And it was during the segment. So it's like, Okay. So yeah, in real time, I'm not sure. I'm sure I could look it up real quick. But yeah, isn't that strange?
It is. And it'd probably be hard to find looking it up only because so many different things will come up for her and him in this case.
You could probably use the Wayback Machine, maybe.
Yeah. Criminality said, I think the Watts case was a huge eye opener for me, at least, on how mainstream media drives a narrative that is simply not true. She said that she thinks that it was his co-worker's interview with mainstream media. What co-worker? I'm drawing a blank. Hold on, let me ask ChatGPT. When was the post made?
Chat GPT will. That's so cool. It would
We'll
answer
see.
that.
They're not always right, I've noticed.
I've noticed too, it's like sometimes I'll ask it something just to test that I know the answer to, and it gets it wrong, and I have to correct it, and then it changes the input. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like Wikipedia, where it's based on what people input into it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. No problem, Teresa. I totally get it. The public first became aware of Nicole Kessinger, the woman Chris Watts was having an affair with, in mid-November. So it wasn't until like the plea deal was signed.
Oh, wow.
Timeline of public awareness, August 2018. Well, maybe this means like of her identity. Like maybe they didn't give her name.
Okay. Right.
But I think that maybe they reported on a mistress that he worked with prior to. Because I remember Ashley Banfield mentioning the mistress he worked with. But I don't think they had a name.
I wonder where this interview, like where that fits into that. You know what I mean? With the coworker. So were a lot of Ashley Banfield, like a lot of this coverage removed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she got fired after like right after covering Watts. I don't know if some people say it was related, other people say it wasn't. So this timeline says 2018. So right now, that's where we're at right now in August. Identity is not made known to the public. She is interviewed by police as part of the investigation. And then it says late August into September 2018, investigators begin speaking with Kessinger, who volunteered. And that's the thing it'll always say on ChatGPT and other places. She voluntarily came forward. And it's like, yeah, she did. But like the whole thing is like she knew that her emails were handed over, her work emails. So it wasn't like she came forward like, I need to do the right thing. Like she knew that she kind of had no other choice.
Yeah, the alternative would have been she would have raised a billion eyebrows, and they would have been forced to get a warrant on possibly to force her down, to arrest her, to question her. You know what I mean? Like, despite the fact that I believe they really didn't want to have to do that from the get-go, which is bizarre.
Yeah, so basically it says right here, November 15th, 2018, the Weld County District Attorney's Office released thousands of pages, mind you, it was just under 2,000, of discovery, and so many of it were just letters from random women to Chris while he was in jail. So it was just fluffed up with stuff that like, okay, why do we care that he's getting love letters? And then like right in the mix of all those love letters is how you found at the very top of a new page, this, which wasn't even in part of like the timeline area, like in the right order, the 2017 search of Shanann Watts and Chris Watts done by NK. Like, and we know in other cases, prosecutors and lawyers admittedly state that they'll kind of make the discovery files a bit confusing or like hard to kind of navigate through.
Right.
So that the defense doesn't see like certain things that might punch a hole in their whole case. So I think that's, if you look at the discovery files as a whole, it really is all these pages of random women. And then all of a sudden you stumble upon like that 2017 search and it's like, what the heck? What is this?
Totally agree. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like all this fluff, this nonsense that only like a tabloid reader would be interested in. Always getting love letters. Like, what's he do? Like, but like literally, like you said, deep within that is the key that opens and asks many questions as to why. Like the main thing, and it puts her in the frame.
Yeah, so basically says that it wasn't until those discovery files were released that her identity became known. As far as the public, I think we're going to find out that it was mentioned like maybe in October, but not of her name or her face or anything. Everything was protected. There was something else too I wanted to add. But basically, do you remember when the files became public? And I'm asking Teresa too if she's still listening. The certain images that became like redacted right after, like the pieces of chicken breast grilling on a grill.
Yes, I remember that
Thermometer
one.
picture of like a fridge thermometer. Like I swear I saw those pictures, and then we all went back into the files. Okay, did you guys see them?
Yes, I remember the chicken and the thermometer picture on the fridge. Was it taken like from the top of it or something, like at a downward angle? Or the fridge, like the freezer?
I think so. I remember, I know I saw these pictures.
Or is that because it reminds me of like one of those drinks that was there something on top of the fridge? I don't know, but I do remember the pictures and the chicken specifically.
I remember it. I think it sticks out because of how bizarre it is. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, and I remember we talked about why, like, didn't they have cold pizza? Who was he making chicken for? Like, I remember, and there was 3 pieces on it, maybe. Or no, maybe there was 2. I don't know.
I think there was 3. And I think it was mentioned in the discovery, like it describes the pictures. 3 pieces of chicken breast. And then like another point, it was like, Watts then sent an image of the thermometer in his freezer or fridge. Yeah, we still have the picture of the kid's book on top of the fridge with the nitrile glove. That was not redacted. That's part of, like, we still have that. Okay,
maybe that's the one I'm thinking of from the top with the glove, because the gloves, that rings a bell for me.
It's crazy. And if they're just nothing, why such random things to get rid of, but also to leave it in like the discovery files that we still know about it. And then the last thing that got redacted that I still have like a link to is NK's full phone records. Because throughout the investigation, I'm sorry, there was no investigation. Throughout the web sleuth investigation, I should say, into her in the files, we like found the ping in Frederick, remember?
Found like what in Frederick?
Her ping.
Yes. Yeah,
so and that was also something that was like released, and then we found, and we're like, whoa, like in addition to the 2017 search of the family, we find this ping the morning that they all go missing, killed in Frederick. And we're like, what the heck is this about?
It's just too many coincidences.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and then they redacted the phone record, the full that showed that.
They did everything they could to protect her, and I've never seen this so blatantly in a case like this before, in a multiple mass homicide. You know what I mean? I've never seen this level of protection for someone who is so obviously a suspect. It's so unreal how blatant it is. Like. And to leave little breadcrumbs in there as well as almost a way to taunt us, that's really how it feels.
Do you think it was like those are mistakes? Why? And I don't know. It just seems intentional to have like that in the middle of all the fluff, if you will, for lack of a better word. The
So it was
20 the
4
search
chicken breasts.
4.
chicken
Okay.
breasts.
If that makes sense, because I remember like thinking there's 3 of them or something like that, you know, him and the 2
Mhm.
girls.
Yes. And then, so these are
Okay.
things that we know that took place Sunday. They go to that birthday party. They got wet, didn't have their bathing suits on. So Chris put their shoes out on the back porch. You can see them on the body camera, like on the sill of like the balcony area, and left them out to dry because they got wet during the party. They end up having cold pizza for dinner because Frank Sr. is FaceTiming Bella, and he says he heard Celeste, but he didn't see Celeste, but he heard her. And then these pictures are being Chris is sending, and that's the thing is like, who is he sending these pictures to? Did it ever? I don't know if it said that he sent them or if he just took them. Because like here, this is a direct quote from the Discovery that he just took the images. So I'd be interested to know, I guess, if who he sent them to, because we don't have Chris's full phone like information for whatever reason.
And it seemed like Shanann was like the one that really took the pictures. He didn't really seem like the type that really was always, you know, photographing them, the kids.
Yeah. There was something else. Okay, so the 111-minute conversation also happens, we know for a fact, on that Sunday, which nobody ever has been able to answer that question, what that was about. What do you guys think that was about?
I have no idea. I don't know. Like there are the other theories people have put out that have made sense to me, but I don't know. What do you think, Amber? The way you asked that makes me think, do you have it like a...
Not really. Like, I don't have much to go off of because it was so skipped over so many times, like whenever they would try to touch on it, like that I could never get a feel for. I almost think that there was no conversation and it was just an open line, but
That's one of the theories. Yeah, that's one that I was thinking of just now. That
as an alibi.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's hi, Holly. She's going by Jen now, but good to see you. But I don't know. Let me see what this segment has to say, and then I'll pause it again.
Okay.
And, you know, friends and family and even people who just recently met Chris are describing him as standoffish. There's a recent report out of North Carolina. A woman named Michelle Greer happened to run into the family, both Shanann and the little girls, as well as Chris, during a vacation in Myrtle Beach. She actually has photos from August 2nd of the family, and she describes him as standoffish, where she describes Shanann as interacting with the little girls, taking pictures, and says there's no way that Shanann could have been the one to kill the 2 little girls.
In fact, you know, he may have been standoffish, but he still did his duties for those who saw him out and about. He just, not only days before the girls vanished, was out with them at a birthday party. He took them to a birthday party. Jeremy Lindstrom is a family friend who said he just couldn't believe this was the person who's now showing up in orange and shackles. Have a listen.
I mean, he would reach out and help anybody that needed help with anything. He was a good mechanic. If you needed help with your car, he'd help you. If you need help moving furniture, he'd be over there in a heartbeat to help you out. You don't know what, when, why, where, how everything goes weird. Just horrible. Why do people do this? Why does it come down to this? Had to have been an easier route.
So, Jenna, these opposing descriptions of Chris Watts, the now accused family annihilator, he would have done anything for anyone, but he was very standoffish. So now you look for all the other clues everywhere else in this family's life. And it turns out back in 2009, this whole family picked up and packed up in a hurry. They sold a house in Belmont, North Carolina that was in Shanann's name, and apparently took off, leaving just about all the furniture behind. This is from the Denver Post. What do we know about the person who bought the house and what that man was able to tell investigators?
Yeah, and it's these types of conflicting reports are very interesting because people only have one view of the family, and so we're learning a lot more details now about a bankruptcy that surfaced, and again about these other reports that are surfacing from the family that bought the house. That just found it very odd that there was so much left in the home.
Okay, so August 20th is when the public became known of the arrest affidavit. So everything being reported up to the 20th, including Ashley Banfield, had been saying that law enforcement have told us that he's confessed to it all. And then the 20th, so 2 days before this segment, is when they found out that he's telling everybody that he killed Shanann because she killed the girls, actually. So already, if you look at it in the big picture, mainstream media is like reporting that, she couldn't have done this to her girls. And it's like, well, you don't you understand that you were already told that he confessed to it all? It's like they just kind of skip over it. You know what I mean? And then they're like, okay, let's move on. But let's make it clear that there's no way that this mother could have done that, because they always are going to
walk the line.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So the murder happens on the 13th. He's arrested the 15th. And then for days, this had been reported on that he confessed to it all. And then finally, they released the affidavit that shows the other confession. And now they're just kind of reporting on that now. But now I guess they're talking about the mistress. Will the husband's alleged mistress surface? How are they not demanding, kind of to know more about the mistress?
Exactly, because
good question.
You'd expect them to be proactive with this, but they're not. They're so careful, and like what you said, they walk the line. You know what I mean? They don't ask the big questions. They don't make. It's not even accusations. It's like speculation, I suppose. But they can obviously it can be accused of. I mean, asking questions of someone, wanting someone to come forward, wondering why they're not coming forward, all this stuff isn't defamation. It isn't going to get them, fired or sued. So
I don't know. Maybe they'll touch on it when I press play, but I'm just realizing they have this little banner on the bottom, new twist. You would think that would be the subject, but instead they're focusing on, we talked to somebody who bought Shanann's old house and they thought it was weird that they left all this. And it's all that is interesting, but we actually ended up finding out that she sold that furniture or was given it was rent a center type stuff. So it was given back or something. There was a reason why she left it. She's moving all the way across the country. So many people leave their furnishings, but the way the media is reporting it right now, they're kind of spinning it they left in a hurry and they thought it was weird. I don't know. It's just weird. And then they have it as a small little bullet point, will the mistress surface?
It's just something we should keep in mind when we're watching new cases developing cases, how the truth isn't necessarily what you hear, and it's probably twisted a couple times.
100%. I think you've got to find your own truth, I think, and that's difficult because it's you've got to go your own way. I think in this day and age, I think everything has a tinge of propaganda to it, and there's a lot of reasons why people will push out a certain narrative all the time. So to be objective, you've really got to go your own way and analyze what you see and react to it and be honest with yourself and not be ashamed if your view isn't the mainstream.
Just think about it also, because exactly. Which is why of course, here we go with the Idaho 4, which is why I'm always going to take it sort of like how you said Megyn Kelly approached it. I'm always going to have questions like of the roommates, and
Right.
just leave it at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's enough. That's
Yeah.
not
exactly.
that's not
Like, I
saying that's
understand he's guilty. He confessed to these crimes. You know, he's spending the rest of his life in prison. That's great. That's great. But that whole case cannot ever be discussed by me without at least saying, like, I just am confused. By that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
and
exactly.
like, people, even in the Alex Murdaugh case, but also to kind of carry on the Idaho 4 is like, Court TV was reporting that Kohberger was DMing these victims numerous times and being ignored. And then we find out that wasn't true. You know, so it's like the narrative, even in the Idaho case by mainstream media, was like, of course, painting him as like this creep and trying to make us realize like, oh, he got ignored. That's what this was all about. But that wasn't the case. You know, he's guilty, glad he is where he is. But I just always noticed that too. Like, and that was reported by Court TV. And then in the Alex Murdaugh's case, there was rumor that she was having an affair on him. So Maggie was cheating. And that was also reported on Court TV. And then the whole trial goes on, and we were all kind of waiting to see if something would come out, because that would kind of make it sense, like, oh, he snapped and like killed her. He found out about the affair. But that never ended up coming to surface either.
Yeah, I don't know. But Amber, I hate to do this, but I'm going to jump in the chat for the rest of this because it's almost 9 and we have school in the morning. So we're trying to get ready for school.
Problem.
But
totally get it. I'm going to bring Scottish Queen on, and we're only going to go for like 30 more minutes, guys. But Alex, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you,
guys.
for
I'm
having
going
me.
to add her into the title, and you guys just click on her name and it'll bring you to her channel. So subscribe if you're not already. And thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. And Jay, good to see you. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.
See you, Alex. It's been good to chat with you.
Okay, bye. Good to chat with you guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you. Is there an echo for anyone?
I'm getting an echo. I'm just wondering if it's me. No, I'm not hearing you. Hang on.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah. Right, I'm going to change. Right, I'm just going to change my headphones quickly. Right.
Okay. No problem. I'll play this segment.
Mark Saltzman, you're a technology expert. Explain to me how Alexa just might be the linchpin and the actual witness to what really happened in the house that night.
So after you say the wake word, which is her name, then this device, this Amazon Echo or other similar device, records everything you ask her or tell her, and it saves it in the cloud on Amazon's servers. Now you, as an Amazon Echo owner, can go in and delete that data if you want. You can do it on the app or you can do it on the website, but it's all kept because it helps make the experience better for the customer. As you can hear there with the little girls talking to it, they're not quite as articulate, but Alexa may understand these girls over time through artificial intelligence, and they start customizing it. Once you delete it all,
I'm sorry, but shouldn't we be talking about the Mistress tonight? Like, we're pretending it's August 2018. You know, we don't even have full information. All they did was put new twist. Will the Mistress come forward? And yet we're over here talking about Alexis or Alexa.
Yeah, definitely. Who was that guy? I'm trying to remember. Oh, the technology expert. So Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Nobody's answering, so I'm like,
No, you're
another
fine
set
now.
of headphones. Yeah. But it's good to hear because a lot of people don't understand how we know his movements during the night. You know, the up and down through the attic and all the other kind of movements that he does, putting off the Vivint and all
And
that
the
kind of
thing
stuff.
about the Alexa is it seems like it would only have recorded anything if you kind of turn it on, like get it to chime in. Am I wrong? I don't have one.
I don't have one, but the only reason I know so much is because of the case. There was somebody, I can't remember. See, when we first started doing this, wasn't there somebody that had somebody on and he was an expert on Vivint and the motion detectors, and he explained what it meant in the discovery.
Yeah, they did talk, but the whole thing is like the Alexa and the Vivint thing are two separate.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just confused why the media is even talking about this when they're just discovering. They just found out 2 days before this report that Chris actually
right,
didn't
Alexa.
confess to everything, that he said that Shanann killed the kids and that there's a mistress.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the big, I would think, bomb drop, you know, especially if they didn't know. But to be honest, I think I mean, it was over here in Scotland when it first happened, and we seen the on the porch interview, and you could just, I don't know, I had a funny feeling it was him, and it was to do with a mistress. I don't know why. It just, I don't know.
Like, go ahead,
sorry.
Jay.
So they ran this in the Scottish media.
Yeah, it was on. Well, it would be British media. It wouldn't just be Scotland. It would be the whole of Britain. Yeah.
Yeah, because I read the Herald, so like I keep up with it. So yeah, it's interesting how it's spread across the world. You know what I mean? I was like, what was the reporting like in the UK? You know what I mean? Because I wasn't in the UK, and I'm not now.
It was more sensationalised. They did talk a lot about the mistress, but they very much went with the same kind of media updates that you went with, that Chris killed the kids and his wife for his mistress. That was very much it. They did have lots of pictures of him, his trial, you know, things like that. I can't remember. I don't think the NK interview was shown over here. You know, the one she done, I don't know whether it was for a magazine, and she's all dressed up and
Denver Post.
Right.
Denver Post is the one who was also putting out the thing that they had just said about Shanann left North Carolina in a hurry, and they spoke to the owner of her old house, and the owner thought it was weird that she left all her stuff. It was just very like, okay, why are we even? This isn't news.
Yeah.
There's a mistress.
I mean, some people sell a home and leave things behind, you know. Maybe I'd heard that the furniture was part of the selling in the house. Could be wrong. But sometimes people do think, oh, well, it's a lovely furniture, I'm not going to need it. Or, although, I don't know, you know, I think maybe she should have took the stuff to save herself some money, because it was lovely furniture, but I don't know. I really don't know. I know they kind of went back to her ex-husband, and I mean, what has that got to do with now? He has got nothing to do with her, you know. I think he was quite quiet. He's been quite quiet, Shanann's ex-husband, hasn't he?
The only reason why we know about her ex-husband is because of the discovery files. Like, he never came out publicly. He never did media. He never was on social media, even commenting about anything. Unlike her boss, who did say a few things, but I'm gonna skip through that. I don't want to hear this technology expert because Alexa did not come into play. And I'm gonna see how long it takes for the banner on the
I can't
bottom.
remember what happened with the Alexa, but I'm sure there was an Alexa. So if anybody shouted something, or Alexa call, I don't know, 911, or does it do that? I've not got an Alexa, so I don't know
I
how
have
it
no
works.
idea. It's so irrelevant. I'm skipping through it because right now we want to know what they're talking about as far as the confession that just changed and the mistress. And so here along the bottom, stunning twist. Did dad strangle family, then hide bodies? So it's like they don't even know like the whole alleged story that the district attorney is going to come up with.
Making as much money as they
Now-
needed to make.
Oh my gosh. Now they're pulling up on the bottom of the screen, the mistress comment again. And Ashley's talking about their money problems. Like, I don't care about the money. It comes to play, but
that wasn't the motive. It might have been a little,
yeah, it's like a side note
definitely.
at the point of this new confession coming out that he said Shanann killed the kids, and because the thing is, they can't touch on the fact that there's a new confession and make it a big thing because they've already told the public that their sources said that Chris confessed to it all. So now they're just moving on and saying like, this jerk is saying that she did it all. It's like, that's what you said. Your sources said that he said. You know what I mean? Now they're just kind of going to run with this whole, like, let's talk about their money problems and let's not mention the mistress. Like, obviously, whoever's giving the media information at this point is like saying like, well, we don't want her face out there and her name out there. And it's way too soon.
It's weird.
Her.
Definitely weird. And her having her dad in for the interview.
Yeah.
Like over here, you wouldn't get that.
Only if you're a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Over here, they tell you no chance. You're in yourself. And no, that's a weird one. So does she have mental issues? I don't know. Or
Well, yeah,
does he know?
the bipolar stuff. That could be the official line for why he was there, but I think that is absolutely not why he was there. It's because I believe he had very good ties with the police and the DA, and he was there to say, look, this isn't a normal situation. I'm friendly with you. You know me. I know you. Let's handle this a certain way. Let's not go too far. Let's set the parameters, when that should never be the case with an interrogation ever or an interview ever. Like the person being interviewed should never set the parameters, because then it's just an exercise in futility.
Yeah, exactly. Because as you were saying, the dad was in the room and he stopped the investigator a few times and went, "Don't go there."
Yeah.
What?
Right.
What?
So for the dad to be able to tell the investigators, like, you're leading with your questioning and you can't go to there, like, on that topic, like, I just go back to this quote unquote bombshell evidence that the district attorney says Nicole Kessinger gave them. And if she gave them exactly where the bodies were, which I think they already knew because they already had the drone out there. It was during the day.
And it was obvious where Shanann was. You can see it. We've watched it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear as day where the dart is to start.
Yeah, they didn't just go out there and put a drone up because for no reason, because somebody told them to. Like, they knew that that's where Chris was because of Chris's truck has that GPS coordinates, and his managers and everybody confirmed, like, yeah, he was at the 1029 Survey site, which were other oil tanks, and he went to Survey 319. And it's just this whole question of the August 20th, everyone's made aware of there's a mistress. So this stuff right here, for them to even be like still questioning the financial stuff, like of course that was probably another thing that was like a motive for Chris to be like, you know what?
Of course,
I'll go
because
with this.
if he got away with it and say they managed to, I don't know, say the explosion, he would have got a big payout from that, life insurance. You know, even if they went with Shanann disappeared with the kids, killed herself, they don't know where they are, but they found Shanann's body, you know.
Yes. So let's see
Parker,
what they end up saying here about the mistress and stuff, because they're
Okay.
going to put something on the bottom of the screen mentioning her, but they're going to touch on the financial garbage.
Right.
When you're not a millionaire, I mean, this family was not making as much money as they needed to make to live the lifestyle they were making. If I went through some of the actual...
They've already changed the bottom banner, like already. And then they've like had it as, look at this, cops. Hubby says he wasn't the only killer. What?
Exactly. When was that? Just as it came out, yeah.
So that is interesting, knowing that they were investigating a leak from law enforcement to the media. So was there somebody from law enforcement that was also saying the other thing? Because he says over and over in that interview that the handprints and fingerprints on the kids weren't going to come back to him.
Exactly. He was pretty positive on that, you know.
What do you think of that banner, Jay?
And do you know what? See if they had came back as a female's hand, he might have got away with saying it was Shanann unless they got fingerprints, you know. If it was NK, I'm not saying Shanann done it before anybody shouts at me. I'm just saying if a female did strangle them or hit them or whatever, and the prints of a female was on them, they might have believed that Shanann done it, you know. That's what I think he was hoping, rather than maybe his mistress doing it or another female that was involved, you know. I still believe Danielle, Jim, and that wasn't a coincidence. They were all there as well that weekend. But yeah, it's just weird. They've just completely scrubbed the mistress out. You know, it's like she never existed. It's like she was just a plain little innocent person who just happened to get involved with this man. Load of rubbish. I'm speaking too much. Everybody's going quiet.
What are your thoughts, Jay?
Yeah, I think it's bizarre because, like what we've been saying, they drop these bombshells and these sublines, these headlines, and then they are discussing something completely different. The money was whatever, but I think him saying that he wasn't the only killer, I think, was in a way trying to tell something of the truth without fully giving it away. He was pinning it at that moment on Shanann, but I think that was a way of him to get part of the truth out in a weird way, because I think that I can't get into his head, but I think now he wants it to be known, like we know it, he wants it to be known that NK was involved too, but whether we believe him is
has he come out with something else? Has he come out with something else?
Well, just this past year, he's just made more comments about the Jezebel and God will judge her one day for what she did, like stuff like that, where it is seeming like he is being more, over the years, more and more direct with like, and I say that with loose, because it's not direct, but it is more so than it was when he was being interviewed the first time, and he's saying that the deaths weren't because of him and Shanann. And when Tammy says, what did Shanann do to them? He said, you know, he doesn't agree with her at first. And then he says, Tammy says, so you want the world to think that Shanann hurt her girls. And he says, basically, like, it's not going to come back to me. And she says, what's going to happen when we swab the children's necks and it comes back to your DNA or your fingerprints on their necks? And he said, it's not going to come back to me. And then his defense team does motions through the court process about how they had a DNA expert that could get touch DNA off of the girls, even though they were in oil, like that. This expert,
Right. Okay.
that they would still be able to kind of find their own method, and like they wanted to do their own investigation too. And they were the judge basically said, like, no, we're not going to allow that. And like the media was like portraying it as like the defense just wants to pin it on Shanann. Like they're asking for swabs of the girls' necks because they want it to come back as Shanann. It's like, we should have just been able to see what it possibly could have come back as. If it's Chris, perfect.
Exactly. You know, definitely. I think a lot of things were done wrong in the case. They should never have agreed to a plea deal unless he actually admitted to everything and the whole thing, I think, you know. But as you say, we've heard 5 confessions from him now. But going back to NK, I think the notion now has wore off with him. He's no longer in love with her now. It's 7 years. And now he's starting to go, what have I done, you know? How did I let this get this far? And now I'm sitting here rotting and she's living her life, you know?
Yeah. There's got to have been something really significantly like wrong with him, personality wise, mentally wise, that he was able to not only do that, but even get to a place where because I believe like this was her plan. She instigated this all. But
definitely.
To be able to even be influenced to that level by anyone, there has to be something really, really wrong with you. You know, like
exactly.
I don't know how he was able to function as an adult if he was that easily influenced. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a mother like me and Amber are, but if I was going out with somebody and they said, you know, say I was married, I'm a widow, but Amber's got her husband, but say we were having affairs and the person we had an affair with said, go and kill your kids and your other half and we can be together, you would be like, no, you know.
You're 99% of people in that situation would run 1,000 miles.
Exactly. I would be like, I'm off. Don't call me again. Don't.
And that's the whole thing about him being so passive to the point of like, really, dude? That's unbelievable. But he admits it in this one instance where he's talking about the 4th of July when Shanann calls and he's sleeping at Nicole Kessinger's house because he had the day off and they're napping or whatever. And Shanann's all pissed off because she couldn't get a hold of him.
That's right, yeah.
And he tells NK, she's in the shower. He's like, I got to get home. And NK's like, are you coming back? And he's like, probably not. And then he leaves. And then NK and him get into this argument and stuff. And he is telling Tammy and them about it in the prison interview. And he's like, I was just like trying to calm her down. And he's like, I don't even know why I was doing it. And it just is like another example of like, he's in an instance where his wife is pissed off at him and he's like frantic because he's obviously doesn't want her to find out. And so he goes back to his house and then NK somehow, you know, they meet up again because Tammy says, and you saw her after that. And he said, yeah. So they meet up or whatever, and they're arguing. She's upset because she's saying that she just can't handle being second fiddle. And then he's like consoling her. It's like, that was your chance to just say,
yeah,
we have to end this. I
Yeah,
can't,
exactly.
you know, like anybody else. And the fact that she was
And
in the
even if
shower
she
and he said her
threatened to
name,
say to Shanann, sorry, even if she threatened to tell Shanann, it's better than killing them, you know?
yeah, worst case scenario, it would have been a bit of a costly divorce and a bitter custody custody argument and everything. But yeah, that is invariably better. It's like with Scott Peterson as well. That outcome is always going to be better than the prospect of possible life in prison or maybe even the death sentence. You know, like I don't know how these people's minds work, and I don't want to know truly. But like the lack of rationale, the lack of logic, it's really disturbing.
Yeah.
And that's when, sorry, on you go, because I keep
No,
cutting
go
in.
ahead. I was just agreeing. Like it's really unbelievable, which makes me think that like was there some sort of like drug use involved, like psychedelics, like some sort of way for them to kind of
Well,
like
he lost weight dramatically in those 6 weeks. You know, Shanann was away. He lost a dramatic amount of weight, and he did look, you know, when you first see him, he does look as if he's too calm, and he's got the pupils are dilated, and that might just be fear, but he seemed too calm for somebody that was, you know, the police are at your door, your wife and kids have just been murdered, or, you know, and yeah, I think they were definitely taking some sort of drug, you know, together.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think the fact that they were going onto the sand dunes, you know, I don't think they were just going there to sunbathe. Like that image of like the Manson family and the 60s of people taking peyote and magic mushrooms and things and acid and the deserts, you know, that's an image that kind of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that's certainly a setting where people go to take psychedelics, you know.
Yeah.
And
Wasn't
like
she found?
Sorry.
Go. On you go.
I don't think. Sorry. Yeah, I don't think that like you just give someone a bunch of acid and say, oh, when they're on it, oh yeah, you're going to kill your whole family, and then they go that doesn't happen. That never happens. That isn't real. You can't do that. You can't. That you know, it's nonsense. It's in movies, that stuff. But it can certainly erode someone's mental state to where they are more passive and easier to influence on a small scale, bit by bit by bit by bit, and you can mentally recondition people through drugs, because drugs is chemicals and chemicals is the mind. You know what I mean? And the mind is
it
a
numbs
key
your
to
emotions.
perception. Exactly.
Numbs your emotions as well. And didn't, as I was, sorry, I was going to say, didn't he find NK like dancing naked at the sand dunes or something?
that was from Cadle.
Was it? Right.
That
okay.
And that's the thing is like she's was it in a letter from Chris where he talks about at the sand dunes he looked out there and she was speaking with her dead grandmother or chanting and dancing. I can't remember if that was in his own
or something. Yeah, but he was looking up those stones that are worth quite a lot as well.
Look up multiple like types of.
So I'm not saying she was a witch. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but I do think she was into all that kind of, you know, taking the drugs.
I think she was into. I think she was into
the kind of crystals, into all that kind of stuff.
I think that we should do, which I would love, Jay, for you to be on, is like a whole live stream talking about like the alleged dark sides and dark friends that was mentioned to Cadle.
I'd be more than happy to do that. It's something I've thought about a lot, and obviously I haven't really don't think everybody knows about it. I don't really talk about it too much, but I practice, similar kind, not the sinister kind of thing that
No,
she
the
kind of
spiritual kind of side.
reverse kind of, carry on that she was getting up to, but certainly of the spiritual kind of nature and the earth and pagan kind of outlook. So
I like that. I'm into that stuff, but myself, I'm not a witch. I'm not a Scottish witch. Honest.
It can be obviously like with anything, with any kind of religion or spiritual group. If someone's already got issues, that can bleed into anything that they're doing, they're practicing, they're believing in any walk of life.
Mm-hmm.
And that mental disorder can happen where they either take it completely extremely and in the wrong way, and then they use it to justify their own, bad behaviors.
Exactly.
And for her, I don't want to obviously go too much into detail for it. I want to save it for that live. But for her, NK is a woman who is completely motivated by her own satisfaction, her own pleasure. And like to someone who is of the esoteric ilk and believes in all that, being so inwardly focused with things that are material, like sex, like power over people, and all these other things, it only gets you so far. You know what I mean? You can't really transcend and grow as a person when you're so inwardly focused. So that's why I think that, this kind of...
she's very selfish. Very selfish.
This is why if there were occult practices, would be very negative and very, sinister and evil almost, and unbalanced. You know what I mean? Like she's a very unbalanced person, and that's what I think. So it would be really interesting to get into that more with you on a live, Amber.
For sure. And the thing too is like, I want to be able to pull out things that are factual so that then we can base our conversations, like branch it off of something from the case, because just having the book of Cadel saying Chris said that the NK and her friends were into dark things, like it's not enough. Like I want something more from the discovery and stuff that I can kind of align with something that would fall into the whole discussion, like that's kind of built on something that's factual. So I'll have to look through, and because I know that there's
wasn't she giving them a green tea as well that he used to fall asleep with? Remember? I don't know who said it, but I don't know if it was
green tea.
Green tea.
That was also something that was speculated on afterwards. That was never like...
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Like a lot of people think that there was some sort of tea stuff that she was giving him, but if it came from a book from Cadel, I still have questions. I'm like,
I've not read any of her books, but I've seen people commenting about what she's wrote, and I've seen stuff. So sometimes I get muddled up which books which, because there's been so much.
I know that's the other problem.
That's the problem.
She hasn't written one book. It's been multiple things where it's like some of them don't even have the letters from Chris, and it's like, okay, so wait, are you just coming up with stories? Because using our own theories from the community of like how they met at the gym, and that was stuff that we all speculated on. And then
that was years ago.
Like, the heck?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that, Amber, nothing pisses me off more than when I see a theory that we've discussed. Like, even just me and you are on the group, and then you see somebody else saying, I've discovered this, and you're like, no, you haven't. You've just looked at our post 2 years ago.
A comment of their theory. And I'm like, this is my theory.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course, but that's the thing too, is like, you can only go down so many of the same avenues too with this case. And like a lot of people will pull out things themselves that align with like the theory that I have or, you know, what other people have. So it's like, there's only so many options to choose. And one of the options that I know is just not true is the first confession that Shanann killed the girls, you know?
Exactly. That was just, unfortunately, Tammy just gave him that and he just rolled with it, you know. If
Yeah.
she'd have just maybe kept her mouth shut and just pressured him a wee bit more, because I think he was ready to crack. He would have cracked eventually, I think.
It's kind of like, not to bring up a completely different case, but it's similar in the sense of like David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, like he was being interviewed by this guy who was like fixated with the idea that David Berkowitz was part of the Process Church cult, which is like a splinter group of Scientology. Like this guy was fixated that son of Sam was part of this group and there were other people. And like, apparently son of Sam got to the point where in interviews with this guy in prison, he just started telling him what he wanted to hear because it would make him look better or take heat off him or he wouldn't be seen as bad. And I think it's a similar situation with Chris, you know what I mean, where he's just saying things and latching onto things that he thinks could make him seem a little better.
Yeah, to make him seem as if he was more innocent to what happened and what really did happen. Yeah.
When they're both equally, in my opinion, just as guilty. You know what I mean? I think it wouldn't have happened without either of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Sorry, a minute.
Even if I don't think that Chris killed his own kids, he, I believe, plotted to kill his pregnant wife. Like that to me.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because there are some who are like, I think Florida Bass Fishing has questions if he even strangled Shanann. Like, even if other people.
Well, he tried to kill baby Nico, didn't he? In North Carolina. He tried to make her miscarry. So
that was also something that the problem with the whole Oxy thing is he wrote in a letter to Cadel, the reason why you found Oxy in the system is because I gave it to her. But like there was no Oxy in her system, so I don't know what he's talking about.
I think maybe when she was in North Carolina, because sure her family said the first night he appeared, for the first night ever, she was violently sick. And he just went to bed and left her, you know. So he definitely gave her something, you know, that's suspicious enough. And then from the time he was there, you can tell by her text, the symptoms she's telling her friends, it sounds like some sort of opium or something strong. She's having the symptoms, you know, the sweat.
Her side effects would align if you looked up the side effects from somebody who had taken Oxy or like a opium.
Yeah,
Opioid.
like a withdrawal, if you're withdrawing from a really heavy dose.
But I still have questions about that whole thing, honestly.
Yeah.
The thing too is, like I said, is like he said the reason why you found Oxy in her system is because I gave it to her. But like even if he was talking about North Carolina, what you can't find something in her system in North Carolina. So he's also lying about the evidence.
Maybe he didn't know how long it would stay in our system, you know. Some drugs do stay in longer than others.
Yeah,
but maybe he didn't know. I can't remember. So
it's one of two things. He either was saying that because it was in her system from when he gave it to her in North Carolina, or it's another example of him saying something about the evidence that doesn't align with what we know from the
yeah. Was part of Shanann. Now, I'm pretty sure that part of the plea deal was the kids. Part of their autopsies was to be hidden, and part of Shanann's. Is that right? Am I right in thinking that? Because if that's the case, then maybe that's why he said it. Maybe there is more. I know that he did.
Yeah, there definitely is more. And
he did close a lot for him. Yeah. There's definitely, they sealed a lot of things up from the case. So there could be a lot in there to prove other people, things like that.
Yeah, maybe there
that's been
was
sealed
more
up.
to the toxicology that we never saw,
Mhm.
all that. But
Too much contradictions, I think. I think
mhm.
if it was all let out, their entire narrative would just the DA's narrative would just completely fall apart, and that's why there's so much stuff redacted, and that's why it all went down the way it was, because their whole story doesn't add
Yeah.
up.
I mean, I don't understand, like, why does the DA, why does it always have to fit their story? Why doesn't it go with the evidence? You know, I don't get.
Allegedly they are supposed to base their theory on the evidence, but
Yeah,
never even got a full investigation here. So that's the problem
I
with
know, because they shut it down quite quick.
yeah. And then
Um,
he took back his theory after he had put out the initial theory that they all were killed in the house. Then he changed it. And it's like, okay, you have no idea what happened. Just admit it.
exactly.
You guys
Yeah.
have any final thoughts for tonight? And then we can do another questions live stream next Sunday too. Because I really think that, I mean, what we have topics on my playlist of things about the case that you guys can go through and watch, like the 11-minute conversation and NK's truck and all these other things. But it's just to the point where I'm like, I feel like us just discussing our biggest questions is just a good series to be at right now. So any final thoughts, guys?
For me, nothing really, other than I saw a comment earlier, but like a conversation between Yoli and Cindy Hudson, saying that they hate the term hubby and wifey, and I just like to say I agree with you. You know, I don't like those terms either. I think they're dumb. But that's it from me. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for being here, Jay.
Yeah.
I'll be in contact with you and we'll talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to say sorry again that I'm late, as usual. But I did see there was some people on, so I didn't mind. I wasn't leaving you alone.
Yeah, it
And
worked out good.
thanks a lot, Amber, for not telling me that everybody wasn't going to be showing their faces. So I ran about like a headless chicken getting ready for nothing. So thank you.
I tried to tell you I'm not even going on camera. Like
so I would just like to say thanks for that.
No problem, dear.
But yeah, I would definitely like to have Jay on and to be on and listen to things about the dark stuff and that, definitely.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
up
have
for
to put
that.
something together because, like I said, I want it to be based on things in the case
Yeah,
so that we can kind of just spitball and roll off all that.
yeah, of course. But I would love to hear his theories on that because
Yes.
I think there is definitely a bit of it. You know, we're not going to say she possessed them or anything, but there was some, she was definitely into something, But
yeah, there's something there. We'll dig into more of this next week, guys. So I'll talk to you both probably during the week, and everyone in chat. I'll see you guys around. Friday nights is when I start live streaming. So it'll be Friday night, maybe Saturday night, and then Sunday night Watts. So join me then, guys, and I will see you guys next week.
Okay. And bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Bye. Right, how do I get this off now?